So recently, I had gotten, within the past 2 years or so, a projector, but it turned out that it was SD quality, and I started noticing how badly the images looked on it. So I got this new projector, the Epson Powerlite. It is on Amazon $550, so it's quite up there, but it does full HD, 1080p. I believe it also does 720, 1080i. It does all that kind of stuff. And I'd like to say that I think it's a very good projector. It's very good. So the projector has two inputs for HDMI. It has HDMI 1 and 2. The HDMI 1 has a thing called NHL, which apparently is something that has to do with smartphones, but since I don't have a smartphone, I cannot test this functionality to see how it performs. But apparently you can hook up with a certain cable, you can hook up your smartphone and use it on this projector. So that's pretty cool. In addition to the two HDMI, you also have a PC input for a VGA input. You have RCA audio and video for hooking up GameCube or Dreamcast or some such video game system, or like a VCR or whatever. You also have an audio out, a service which looks like a mini USB, and a standard USB. On the top of the device we have a selection reticle here, which lets you select different things and hit and enter, but of course you can do that on the remote. It's much easier to do it on the remote. And also the keystoning and volume adjustments are on here, but of course they're also on the remote. There's a power button. You press it once to start it up, the light will flash and it'll turn on. You press it twice to turn it off. There's also this AV mute, which is basically a dust cover. I like very much that it's built in. Also on the top you have a focus adjustment, which is very easy to use. One thing about the other projector that I didn't like was that the focus ring was also where you put the cover on. So like very much so I would have like the perfect focus and then it would go out of focus because I would have to cover up the lens. This does not have that problem. It also has a thing to make the screen larger or smaller, which I find very helpful, because, see, I don't have this, I only have this about 3 feet away from the wall, but I'm able to get it to a nice big size without having to move it, have it like up here or whatever. So that makes it very helpful. I will be showing the DVD function first. I'll be showing it using my DVD player, which is a Philips model. It's a HDMI output. It upscales. So keep that in mind. I'm not using Blu-ray, I'm not using native 1080 quality. I'm going to show you a silent movie, Nosferatu. Here's the footage from that. One thing I've noticed is I'm not entirely sure if it doesn't like Pillarbox, it seems, so I'm not sure if it's stretching the images out at all. It doesn't seem like it is, but I can't really tell. It's not very noticeable if it is. It very much widescreens it. And another cool thing is in my room here I have this, I might show it to you, I have this ridge that would otherwise, if the picture was taking up the entire image, be obstructive, but what it means is that I can turn the thing all the way up and then part of the black bar goes on the ceiling, so the image takes up as much space as possible, which is very cool. The next one I have up is King Kong. So this is how an older film, 1933, black and white film looks. Again, this is supposed to be a full screen movie, but I'm not sure if it's distorting at all by stretching. It might, but if so, I don't find it very noticeable. I think people still look fairly normal. This one is The Story of Us, which is a 1999, I think, film. It's, so much more recent. As you can see, the image quality is very good, I think. I think the colors are very bright. I've made minimal adjustments, and there are some adjustments inherent in the DVD player that I edited, so keep that in mind. I edited the color and the tint and stuff like that a little bit. We're going to look at a piece of animation. Here is the Simpsons Movie, 240:1 film, so it's a proper cinematic aspect ratio, and even with the DVD quality, I still think it looks quite good. As I said, the colors are very crisp. I can get a good focus on it. All of this, keep in mind that this camera may have trouble picking up things. The next movie we'll be looking at is Mud, which is very recent, like 2013. The next film we're going to be looking at is Singing in the Rain, so a Technicolor, 50s or 60s, I'm sorry, maybe 50s, I forget. but, you know, 50s or 60s, you know, musical. So that's how this looks. As we go over now to the Wii U, which is a native 1080p signal output, you will see how the images, we have games like Whoa Dave, which are very bright and colorful, and that really much comes across in the image. You have a game like Bayonetta, which is much more realistic looking, and it looks very, you know, very good as well. Just to point out that I'm not being sponsored by Epson. I bought this projector completely on my own accord because I wanted a new projector. So I have yet to try out the PC function using the VGA, but I have used it with the HDMI with a PNY adapter from my Mac to my projector. So it goes from mini DVI to HDMI. Here's an example of what that looks like, showing you several videos. I got a Cinema Snob video, which is not exactly, this is kind of to show you how it deals with low light video, and we have this Conan O'Brien video. The Cinema Snob one is low quality, 360, 480, something like that. The Conan one, I believe I was showing it in 720 or 1080. The Vsauce was shown in showing here is in 1080. The Cupquake animation, I believe that's in 720. And very quickly here's my background. You know, so you can just sort of see how text is relatively visible. My eyes are a little fucked up, so I might not be really telling you the real rub here. There's also one other part which says RS232C. I have not looked into what that is. It looks very similar. It looks like some sort of serial port, or I think it might be a monitor out, which I kind of don't really understand what the function of that would be here, but oh well. I guess you could use it to, if you wanted to have two monitors set up but you didn't want a splitter, something like that. Here's where you do see the pillarboxing, which is what makes me nervous that the DVD player is stretching things out. Here's some footage from the GameCube. There is a bit of aliasing, or sorry, deinterlacing. So it has automatic vertical and horizontal keystoning, so that makes it very easy to line up the image, but there's also manual ones you can do in the remote, and also with the one thing, there's a vertical horizontal thing on the front here. What that does is it'll do it inside the image, so the image may be trapezoidal, but it'll move it inside the edges of the frame. So you'll be able to see that, but it's very easy to ignore when you're like watching a movie or something. There's also a source button on the projector and on the layout here. So let's look at the remote really quick. We have power button, HDMI 1, 2, video, LAN, and PC. We have play, fast forward, rewind, etc. I don't know what you can use those for. Link mode, mute, HDMI link. I assume the mute is for when you're using the inbuilt speakers. There's an escape, menu, default user, directional buttons, enter button, 2D, 3D. That's another thing, this supports 3D functionality. I do not have any of those sort of 3D glasses, so I was unable to test that functionality. Color mode, find fast, auto iris, RGB CYM, 3D format, slideshow pattern, aspect, AV mute. So you can mute the AV even from here. So let's go into the menu really quick and we'll just look through these options. I do not have color bars with me. I only have one DVD that has color bars, which is 7, and I don't have that with me. So I have yet to perfectly adjust the images so they function with the bars. But there's a bunch of different settings you have here. You know, how the image is processed and a bunch of other things. Finally, the inbuilt speaker is complicated. Okay, it's not complicated, it's not very good. If you're any sort of film aficionado, video connoisseur, or whatever you like, you will not use the built-in speaker. It's fine for like dialogue or when things, the problem is when things get very loud. A good example of a movie that does not function well on this is Love and Mercy, where there's a lot of music. It peaks and it distorts and it sounds awful. And another weird thing is the audio out is a very weak signal. You can turn it all the way up to 10 and it doesn't, you'll feel like, you know, you're kind of straining to listen, especially the way I am here where I have a room that is, you know, the furnace is on and all kind of stuff like that, the air conditioning, so that makes it even harder to hear. But like when I'm using this and I have it on like 8 or so, you can hear it pretty well, and if it's your only option, like you're running the HDMI through the audio, it'll be sufficient. There's a link here, a Kensington link. I'm not sure what that actually is. I've never really been sure, and there's little feet that you can use to adjust the height of it. I suppose I'll also show you the USB function, so you can see, I'll probably show one of my movies. We'll see how that looks in a second. Hey guys, so I was finally able to get the USB function to work. It was quite cumbersome, but it turns out you can only actually look at pictures on it, you know, do slideshows, so, I mean, here's the quality of the pictures, but I mean, wah wah, you know, but, you know, there's a bunch of different options for how long each thing stays up for, and fade times and all that kind of crap. I mean, if that's the kind of thing you're into, I guess it's pretty cool, but don't get this thing with the hopes of doing media function. Plus, I mean, hell, you can just connect your computer to it anyway and view shit that way. Much more options. Anyway, back to the review. So, in conclusion, this projector is expensive. I'm not going to deny you that. $550 is quite a hefty price tag, but I think it's very worth it. If you are a film aficionado and you enjoy looking at pretty beautiful images and you want to have good sound and video, this is half of that package. Again, the built-in speaker, as to be expected, is not very good, but if it's your only option at the moment, like you're waiting for you still want to watch movies and you're waiting for the speakers to come in, it'll work well enough. Just don't watch like a concert movie, don't watch like Bullet in a Bible or Love and Mercy or anything that uses a lot of music where music is focal to it, loud music or whatever. It does everything you expect it to do, and it does it very well. I think the bulb is supposed to get about 10,000 hours. There's actually a menu option you can go to that'll show you how many hours you have left. So all in all, you can get it on Amazon, and I think it's very good. I'd say like a 9 out of 10 or something, and that's it.